Welcome in, everyone, to episode 109 of Instigate Success, building an ABA franchise, the official podcast of your Hoosier State Instigators, here every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Welcome in, episode 109. Thank you, as always, for joining us. However, you are joining, we appreciate you being here, whether that is over through the Patreon. Thank you to all the subscribers on Patreon. If you're not a subscriber on Patreon, you can get some exclusive access over there with the Apex Athletic Collective Patreon. Or if you're catching this on YouTube, whether that's live or on the replay. But thank you for joining. Episode 109, we are 3 games technically into the season. And just getting things started as far as that goes. Got a road game this week and next week. So we've got a couple of things coming up. And I don't know if I have the schedule pulled up on here or not. Yeah, and shout out to Rico. Thanks for joining us, Rico. We've got another game coming up here this weekend against the Kings, a team we already played once this season. We're still looking for our first win against the Kings. But let's jump over to the ABA Power Rankings. We'll take a look at those first. And then we will take a look at the games from this past weekend and kind of break down some of the games around the league within our division, as well as obviously our game this past weekend, break that down a little bit further. Right. So we've got the top 25 for the ABA for this week's rankings. We saw last week the Fury got their first loss in about 2 years to the Buffalo Extreme, who have moved up to that number 1 spot. So that's not a surprise at all to see Buffalo jump up to number 1, still undefeated with that 6-0 record. A team we've seen, I think, consistently ranked in the top 5 for the most of last season, and I think the prior season. Believe their loss, the one regular season loss they've had in the past 2 years, was against the Binghamton Bulldogs, another team that's consistently ranked. But as I say that, I don't think I see them in the rankings this time. But over the past few years, we have seen them consistently ranked. So Buffalo, definitely a team to keep your eye on throughout the season. First ones to hand Chicago a loss in a few years. Then we got the Austin Bats at number 2. Again, that's another team we saw in the top 5 rankings throughout the season over the past couple of seasons. I see we've also got Spacely in the chat here. He is also excited for season 3. A little teaser before we jump further into it, but we did get our first win of season 3, so starting to get things rolling as far as that goes. We got the Silicon Valley Panthers at number 3, also undefeated, another team consistently in that top rankings. Nashville Aces up to number 4, though. That is a team we've faced off against every season so far that we've been in the ABA. So nice to see a team we faced off against jump into that top 5. I think this is the first time I've seen them in the top 5 as far as the 2 prior years that we've played. We've still got the Chicago Fury there at 6. New England Lightning jumping up to the top 5 there at 6-0. But Fury, the highest ranked 1-loss team, I think they still deserve that, being the defending champions and having 1 loss in the past couple of years. So definitely still a team I think everybody's got their eye on. And then obviously Buffalo jumps to number 1. They beat the Fury. So it's not like the Fury lost to an unranked team, still a team that was in the top end of that rankings. skimming through here, we also see the Ohio Kings. They're at number 11. Little confused on that as far as the rankings go, because the Kings were up to number 9, I think a couple of weeks ago, and then they dropped back to 11. Even though they have won their games, they're at 5-0. They still have not lost a game. So not 100% sure I understand or agree with that, but regardless, the Ohio Kings are at number 11. And again, that is who we're going to be playing this weekend. So tomorrow, actually, we will be traveling to take on the Ohio Kings. We'll jump into that here in just a little bit. As far as skimming through here, another team I'll shout out is the Florida Tropics, a new team. This year is their first year in the ABA. They've been fairly successful. I believe their only loss came against the Nashville Aces this past weekend. They are at 4-1. They've also got some cool. Like their theme's pretty cool as far as that goes. Obviously, if you're familiar with semi-pro, obviously you can probably figure out where that Tropics name comes from. Syracuse, I've got to shout out just because that is, I went to college up in Syracuse, so and the Monarchs are like an old school team. Obviously, this is the rebirth of that team. They're at 18, 4-1. Also got the Chicago Knights at 4-1 at 19. Windy City Inferno, another local-ish team, at 20 with a 4-1 record. We've got them on our schedule this year a couple of times, so somebody we'll be facing off against for the first time, and they were ranked last season as well, and they were in our division. We just didn't wind up having the game against them. Just with how scheduling works. Scheduling this year is a little bit different, so we do wind up playing them. And then yeah, it looks like for the top 25, that's pretty much all the teams that we will be um, facing off against, at least regularly scheduled. And then obviously these are all teams to watch as far as once we get into the playoffs, play-ins, all that type of stuff. But as far as the top end of the rankings, the top three, a little bit of a rearrangement with the Buffalo Extreme up top at number 1. But teams we've all seen, kind of in that top 5. The Nashville Aces, though, up to number 4. Definitely interested to see how high they can go. I feel like those top 3 teams are pretty solidified in those top 3 spots. Um, really, I think it's going to take a loss for any of those to drop. But I think that's probably true for the Aces too, if they're at that number 4 spot already. The teams behind them are um, fairly similar as far as records go, aside from the Fury with that one loss. Then you got to jump to, looks like 14 is the second one-loss team with the Atlanta Defenders. So as far as early season rankings go, if you're undefeated, it looks like you're towards the top there. But even a couple of teams here with some losses, and even a couple of losses are in that top 25. So even though the Instigators did start off with a couple of losses, still a chance we can get on those power rankings. You just got to pull a string together to get it rolling here. But that all starts with the Ohio Kings. We got to take those Kings on tomorrow. They are still undefeated. So let's take a look at the games from this past weekend. So we'll go over to the stats page. I think this should just pull up. Yeah, okay. So it did pull up here. Um, and we are going to skip to this past weekend. I think that's what it would be. Yeah, so this past weekend, the 15th and 16th, looks like there was a game scheduled on the 14th. Not typically what we see as far as Friday games, and it does look like that was canceled. But regardless, going down to this past Saturday, the Kings took on the Lions. So a couple of teams we're familiar with. Actually, I'm interested to seeing the further breakdown on this one. If there is one, it looks like they didn't report it for the Kings, but the Lions did report their breakdown. Um, So an 8-point win for the Kings, maybe a little bit closer than I would have expected, with kind of some of the struggles the Lions have had early on in the season. Obviously, they've kind of pulled together, get a couple of wins here, to bring their record to 3-3. But the Kings still undefeated, obviously at 5-0, with an 8-point win. Um, but you see some of these guys for the Lions. Jordan with 34 points there, obviously kind of leading the way for the Lions, and fairly efficient from the field too. Definitely interesting math there though, with three free throws, three free throws attempted and 4 free throws made for 100% free throw percentage. I feel like maybe those two numbers had got flipped. Um, but I'm not 100% sure how that works as far as the math goes on that. Um, but interesting to note, nonetheless. It also looks like there's a fun note here: 7 fouls, for Phil. So not something you typically see, but that is something that you can come across in the ABA. Is a 7 foul game. But anyways, that's an 8-point win there for the Kings, over the Lions. Obviously, two teams we're familiar with. Obviously, and the Kings will be facing off against tomorrow. Um, we got that as far as last week on Saturday. Um, Taking a look through here. We've got the Chicago Fury, with a 190-118 victory over the ABA Nationals. It doesn't look like they have the quarters reported. Not 100% as far as who the Nationals are, but it looks like they've got 12 games already played, which is a lot of games played already. 0-12 on the season. Uh, but it looks like the Fury were led by Capri Austin, 21 points, 19 rebounds. They also got Armani Shorter with 34 points, Devonta Jones with 28 points. So high scoring efforts from both of those guys there as well. Um, I also got a double double there with Princeton Stewart. Um, but the Fury 190 points. I mean, that's anytime you see something close to that 200 region, is always impressive. But obviously the Fury are one of those teams that you do expect to see a couple of games like that. Um, I've got the graphic. We'll pull that up in a minute, but we can look at our game here. 142-122 victory. Our first win on the season over the Louisville Pros. Also, that was this past Saturday, a home game for the Instigators. So our first win at home this year, and we're going to be on the road the next couple of weeks. I think when I was looking at this, yeah. So it looks like the stats are a little messed up here. The pro stats are correct, as far as I know. Again, I was not there, so I can't 100% confirm or deny. Um, but it looks like a triple double for Shamar Overstreet: 33 points, 16 rebounds, 12 assists. He almost got a quadruple double, with 7 assists there. Or I'm sorry, 7 steals. So he has 12 assists, but 7 steals. And then also a very impressive effort from Dominique Williams: 31 points, 14 rebounds, 14 assists, so a triple double for him as well, and then also 7 steals there. But definitely those guys leading the way. As far as the Instigators, I think these stats got ported from the prior game, because if you add up those points, it's 107 points. So I'm fairly certain these are the stats from the week prior. The home opener against the Kings. So disregard that, but the score is correct. I can confirm the score is correct. So 142-122 victory for your Instigators, first win on the season. And that is our first win in the record book, season three. Obviously, I've mentioned a couple of times, season three is a big step for us. A lot of us coming from the fan controlled sports side. We are now officially in uncharted territory for some of those fans. Obviously, fan controlled football lasted for 2 seasons, and we have officially outlasted that. So we are still up and running in season three. But that is our first win. Pros still looking for their first win on the season, and we'll be playing against the pros in just a couple of, actually not, yeah, not a couple of weeks. Next weekend, we'll be on the road against the pros this time. Also, team will be facing Windy City Inferno in the future. 105-117 loss against the Chicago Knights. Windy City Inferno here. It looks like their leading scorer was Rodney Gaston Jr. 27 points, very efficient from the field there. And then on the boards, it looks like Reggie absolutely destroyed the boards there. 19 rebounds, nobody else in the double digits. Next closest is over 10 away. So definitely, I think that's a guy we're going to have to circle as far as trying to prevent those rebounds, and um, 4 of which were offensive rebounds. So definitely somebody to keep your eye on there. And then obviously, shooting wise, keep an eye on Rodney. Knights did not report, but that's the Inferno's first loss on the season. So again, Inferno, another team that is ranked, that we will be facing on in the second half of the year in the 2026 portion. So yeah, those games to look forward to. Let's see there. Looks like somehow the ABA Nationals were supposed to be playing second game on the same day. I'm sure that was an error, or maybe there's multiple ABA national teams. Um, and we skim down here. Binghamton Bulldogs against Buffalo Extreme. We'll take a look at that. That's always one of the bigger matchups in that region and division. Um, so Binghamton actually 2 losses on the season. I think that's probably why they dropped out of the rankings. But that is typically the fight for the East, is the Bulldogs and the Extreme. Obviously, Extreme, it looks like, are kind of coming away as the clear team to beat right now. It looks like, especially in the East. Um, take a look at the Extremes roster here. Javon McCray, 31 points. Feel like that's a name I've heard before, possibly in college basketball. Uh, 31 points and 10 rebounds there, a double double for him. I think it looks like also a double double for Marcus with 13 points, 15 rebounds. Highest scoring efforts also from Karan DeBoy, 25 points, and John Ivy with 23. But not anything like super crazy as far as like the stats go, compared to some teams. It looks like they're pretty well balanced there. So that could also be one of the things that it separates the Extreme from some other teams. But a 141-112 victory over the Bulldogs, that's a little bit of a bigger victory margin than we typically see in those matchups. Um, but we've got that. This was the game I had mentioned earlier. If I didn't work, I might have considered going to that. Actually, I would have tried to go to that game down here in Florida, the Tropics versus the Aces. Aces with a 2-point victory, 124-122 in a very hard-fought game down here in Florida. I believe they're in South Florida, the Florida Tropics. But the Nashville Aces, you might see some names we've seen and remember from our games against them. But a couple of guys here jumping out on the screen. George Stanberry with 35 points, very efficient game from the field there. The big man Jamario Rivers with a double double. 18 boards. So definitely think that's one of the big differences there. 18 boards, 27 points. Um, Also efficient with his shooting. And then DJ Little with 24, Marquand Tucker with 21. Um, yeah, we got a double double there for Little. Um, and 7 steals there for Jalen Kelso. Even though he's got only got 2.7 steals, that's a very impressive effort there on the Aces side. Looks like stats not reported for the Tropics, but that was one of the games I kind of had circled this weekend, um, or this past weekend, outside of our games. Um, but that's ultimately what put the Aces up to that number 4 spot, was the 2-point victory there. And looking at the games on Sunday, not sure if any of these teams are teams we play. The Legends, actually. We play the Legends. So Legends, looks like they got their second loss, if I'm not mistaken, on the season, to Hessa Bucket, 143-115. Yeah, so the Legends fall to 3-2. After a strong start, they did have a very solid start, jumped up in the rankings for the first time. Um, but you can see there, that second quarter really kind of killed the momentum there for the Legends, and it just seemed to be too much to come back. And then also a big fourth quarter there for Bucket as well. But you mean you look at that, and you see the points for the Legends. Mike Saunders Jr. with 52 points. That is absolutely crazy. Obviously, we're gonna have to that's going to be a key player to watch, as far as our matchups, and I'm sure we'll have some kind of defensive plan for our upcoming matchup later this year against the Legends. Hopefully we do not allow over the half century mark when we face off against them. Um, or if we do, that's just the total team points, not one player. Um, but that is definitely somebody I think we've got to keep an eye on, keep track of. We'll actually take a look here in just a minute. The top performers in each of the leading stats in the ABA. See how he stacks up, but I feel like he's going to be towards the top there. Um, Looks like on the boards though, they kind of struggled. That may have been one of the differences there as well. Um, ah, Crazy as far as they had one guy there, Phil Bledsoe, with 11 rebounds over 10. But you see the overall difference there, 17 rebounds for the Legends compared to 38 for Hessa Bucket. So I definitely do think that is, one of the bigger differences there in that game. Taking a look forward to this weekend, we've got our game against the Kings. I've got the graphic there as well. You see that we've got that there. But looking around the league, games to keep an eye on. St. Louis Spirit, that's a team we'll be facing off against. They're playing 402 Elite this weekend. Um, Windy City Inferno against the Missouri Capitals. Inferno coming off of a loss, probably trying to get back on track with that game there. Uh, Interesting. I was gonna shout out the Mississippi Delta Lucky Ducks, another team that I always try to keep an eye on, but somehow it looks like they've got the Lafayette Ballers in 2 games at the same time. I'm sure that's an error, but we shall see. Legends against the Shuckers. That's going to be a fun matchup. Um, I'm sure Minotaur is probably streaming that one. I know they normally stream the games for those 2 teams, so that'll be a fun broadcast to watch. Chicago Fury, a lot more traveling for the Fury this season. Again, a lot of it has to do with how the scheduling works with the ABA this year compared to years in the past. It's a little bit more structured and organized and regulated, where the teams have to kind of face off against opponents that had similar rankings and standings in the last season. Obviously, new teams, it's a little bit different. Um, but it's a little bit more structured in that sense because of how it's been organized for those matchups. So Fury against the Steel City Yellow Jackets. Obviously, Steel City is Pittsburgh, so that'll be a little bit of travel there. Nashville Aces, number 4 team in the country, going on the road to Clarksville to take on the Phoenix. Um, Phoenix were the first team, or the first team to knock us out of the play-in playoffs, whatever you want to call it, season 1, when we had a matchup against them to determine the team that made it to the playoffs. Florida Tropics also look like they've got a game against the ABA Nationals. Then on Sunday, the Windy City Inferno against the St. Louis Spirit. And then 402 Elite against the Missouri Capitals. Um, so same area, those two teams, and it looks like they flip opponents the following day. And I think that's pretty much it for the teams in our division region. Well, at least, yeah, that we would be facing off against for this weekend. Um, well, let's go back, take a look. We'll take a look at the standings within each of the divisions here, and then we'll take a look at the leading scorers and stats for players. So in the central region, obviously our region, um, we have they did a little bit different as far as the conferences and divisions this year. But the first one, we've got the Yellow City Jackets. Sorry, Steel City Yellow Jackets, the team that the Fury will be going on the road to face off against, currently leading their division at 3-0. So that should be a good matchup there. Hessa Bucket also undefeated on the season at 2-0. In our division, we've got the Aces, the number 4 team, followed by the Kings, the number 11 team, 1 and 2, both undefeated. Then we've got the Legends at 3-2, the Lions at 3-3, Clarksville Phoenix at 2-1, and then we've got ourselves, the Instigators, at 1-2. Then the Shuckers at 1-3. Knoxville Commerce, I don't think that's a team we've ever faced off against or have on the schedule. But they currently are 0-4 with 5 games. I'm not 100% sure on that one. And then the Louisville Pros, who we just faced off against. Then we go to the Black Division, which we were a part of last season. Fury's still in the lead as far as that division goes, as the Inferno fell this weekend, dropped to 4-1. Also the same record as the Chicago Knights. The Rebels and the Frost still looking for their first win on the season. And then the last division within our region, we've got the Western Oklahoma Bulls. That might be the first time I've seen a couple of these teams at 1-0. The North Tulsa Natives at 1-3 are technically second. Missouri Capitals at 1-5 are third. 402 Elite still looking for their first win, same as the St. Louis Spirit. Over in the East region, we've got the Alpha Blue Division, 6-0 New England Lightning, a team that is in the top 5. I believe they're the number 5 team. They're 6-0. Then we jump to the white division. We've got the Buffalo Extreme, the number 1 team in the nation currently at 6-0. Syracuse Monarchs, another top 25 team. Philly Thunder, I believe, are also in that top 25 there, both with 4 wins. Monarchs with 1 loss, Thunder with 2. Um, Wyoming Valley Clutch currently undefeated still at 3-0, but I think just because they haven't played as many games, that's the reasoning behind that with the standings. At least I would hope that's a reason. Otherwise, I'm not sure. Skimming down to the black division there, we've got the Long Island Strong Arm at 5-0. Another team in that top 25 as far as the rankings go. Um, Then we got the red division in the East. We got the 96ers. It looks like at the top of that division at 3-1, but the DC Senate are 2-0 with undefeated record currently. Delaware Dogs 2-2, um, followed by a few other teams there. Looking at the South, we've got the Mississippi Silverbacks at 5-0. Tri-City Takeover 3-0. Silverbacks are a team that we've seen. Um, in the past few years. Um, I think 2 years ago they were in that Final Four. So definitely a team that we've seen in the playoffs over the past few seasons, and a team that I think we'll continue to see there. And then see some of these divisions have a decent amount of teams. Tri-City Takeover also undefeated 3-0. Um, Another team again that I said like I'm following is the Lucky Ducks. Looking for them. Hopefully they get their first win here on the season soon. We've got the Blue Division there. Austin Bats, top three team, 5-0. Purple Kings also undefeated at 3-0, but the Alamo City All Stars at 4-1 in between the two of them. Red Division there. We've got Chattanooga Strike leading the way, 5-0. Atlanta Defenders, and followed by the Aliens. Um, and then the White Division out in the South. Only a couple of teams. This is, I guess, what you would consider the local division for me. Um, the Florida Tropics and Lakeland are the only two teams there in that division. Tropics currently in the lead there, even with that loss, still at 4-1. Out west, we got the Bull Snakes leading the way for Division A, Alpha at 4-0. They've got a pretty good lead there. It looks like at least a 2-game lead over the rest of the division. Then we've got the San Diego Suns and the San Diego Mob, a couple of teams that are in that top 25 rankings at 6-0 and 5-0 respectively, at the top of that division. And then we've got another division with only a couple of teams in there. San Jose Wolfpack at 3-1, already several games ahead of the San Jose Knights there. Silicon Valley Panthers leading the way in their division at 4-0. Delta Stars with a 3-1 record, so still kind of close there. The at-large teams there, you see a couple of those. The Nationals there, one of which just played the Fury. Taking a look over at the stat leaders in the ABA currently, we see points per game. That is absolutely insane. 67 points per game. We are definitely going to have to take a look at this and see how that's even possible. That's got to be a 1-game sample. And it is a 1-game sample. Okay, I was gonna say there is no way somebody had 67 points over a span of multiple games there, but that is a Steel City Yellow Jackets guard there with a 67-point performance. So that is absolutely insane. If you look at these numbers just in that one game there, 67 points. 20 rebounds, 11 of which were offensive rebounds, and 12 assists. So a triple double, 11 offensive rebounds and 12 assists. We have to take a look at this game because that is just absolutely insane. And you can see here, he's not even the only person on that team in that 197-50 victory. To have 60 plus points, Kenny Holmes Jr. had 64 points for Steel City in that game as well. So that must have just been an insane game. It seems like, and I'm gonna assume he is probably the second leading scorer, and that would be the case. So Kenny Holmes Jr. 64 points per game. Both of these guys obviously. We'll see if they continue that against the Fury this weekend with the game there. But a 1-game sample kind of helps jump those numbers up because that's extremely difficult to kind of keep that up. Uh, 52 points though for Linton. Let's see if that's also a one-game sample, or if he's got a few games. That's also a one-game sample. But again, another crazy game. 205, 205. That's a you got to look at that. That's over 200 points. Um, but he's the only one over 50. So see there we got 45, but only one over 50. Um, but 52 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals. I think this might be our first guy with multiple games here. Devin Milton. It looks like he's got a .5. There's no way he scored a half a point in a game. Lafayette Ballers. Yes, this is a 2-game sample. First guy with multiple games under his belt. 59 points, 32 points. Still very, very high scoring. So obviously still up there. 45 and a half points per game. I think we got this is yeah, that's we got that. Then we looked at Saunders. Is that a one-game sample? That's a 2-game sample. We've got the Legends guard, 52 and 38. So another couple of game sample there. So we're in the region there where we see guys with a couple of games. Um, Avery Green, 44.5. I mean, all these are crazy with over 40 points per game. Mook Bates for the Central PA Kings, my hometown original team. Assists per game, we've got Taekwon with 21, absolutely destroying everybody else. That is a one-game sample. But for the New York Lights forward, typically that's not the position that you see leading the way with the assists. So 21 assists per game with a one-game sample. 13 and a half here for Cameron Moore. So I'm guessing that's a multiple game sample. Houston Red Storm. It's a 4-game sample. That's solid. 13, 15, 13, 13. That is a very solid there for Cameron Moore. We see Stancil there, 13.3, tied with Dominique Williams, who we just played against with the Louisville Pros, also at 13.3. And then another guy we played with the pros, Shamar Overstreet at 11.3. And I believe that's the Nashville Aces. Got DJ Little up there with 12. So some of the guys within our division and schedule. Rebounds per game, we've got Walters, Pierre. I'm guessing that's backwards. Let's see. Pierre Walters. Yes, that is backwards. Number 22 with a 4-game sample. So that is a very legit number there. 22, 19, 27, 23. Those are Rodman-esque numbers with 22.8 rebounds per game. So very good effort there. Capri Austin, we see at 19. Southers on the Louisville Pro at 19.3. So guys that we've seen kind of leading the way there. Steals per game. Jalen Kelso. Let's see if this is a one-game sample or multiple game. It's a one-game sample. Actually, this is the Aces game that we just looked at against the Tropic with 7 steals there. This should be a multiple game sample here, though. Antonio Hunt was 6.7 per game. With the Texas Purple Kings, it is 5, 8, and 7, a 3-game sample. But then we see the 2 guys we just faced off against with the Louisville Pros, Shamar Overstreet and Dominique Williams again, right there in the top 5, 6.3 for each of those guys respectively. And those are your stat leaders within the ABA. So that is what we got for the stats within the ABA. But let's take a look at the graphics. So we have, so this was our win graphic. I know we just talked about that game there. First win on the season for the Instigators. with a 142-122 victory. That was this past Saturday. If you didn't get to catch the game, you can catch it, re-watch it, and watch it over on the YouTube channel. So if that's how you're joining us, it's the same exact YouTube channel. You can go back and watch that game, as well as any of our previous games that we did broadcast are all uploaded here on the YouTube channel. So feel free to watch those at your pleasure. And if you're an opponent, I guess you technically could scout us off of those. But it's your choice if you want to do that or not. But it's also we would use that for our tapes as well. So, anyways, that is where you can catch the games. Um, we have put the past couple of games, I think, live over on the YouTube. This week, not 100% sure as for the away team if the Kings will be streaming it, or if we'll have access to stream it. But either way, we might as well jump over to the next graphic, which is going to be from the Kings as far as information on the game for tomorrow. So if you are local or looking for information on that game for tomorrow, it so yeah, tomorrow, November 22nd at 5:30 p.m. At Withrow High School in Cincinnati. We got the Instigators traveling to take the Kings, and it is presented by Fairfax Credit Union, it looks like. But we see there, as far as the information there, you can go to the their ticket website. You can get tickets online. Similar to us, it is a $10 ticket price. And their game is at 5. The game at tomorrow, the tip is at 5:30. Doors are opening at 5. And if you're in the Cincinnati area, you should probably go out and help create the Gator Pit section out in Ohio. So hopefully you can have our own cheering section there. If you're not able to, there's more info for you on the Ohio Kings website. But that is tomorrow, and I guess that's technically night. I mean, I guess yeah, it's technically night. 5:30. Most people consider that night. Um, but we got that game tomorrow. That's against the number 11 team in the country. That's a big game as far as us with the division, because obviously we've got the Aces up at the top of the division right now, undefeated, as well as the Kings. But if either one of those fall, then obviously it kind of opens the door a little bit more. But also this will be a bigger game too, because a win here means a lot more than um, dumb as it sounds than a loss. But a win here puts us at that 500 record. Compared to if we fall in this game, we will technically be at that 1-3 record. Um, because we did have that first week, technically counts as a forfeit for us against the Capitals. So that is one of our losses comes. The second loss, obviously, against the Kings in our home game against the Kings, a home opener, and then we've got the victory this past weekend against the Pros. So now we're at 1-2. This is really, we want to get to that 500 mark. Just is a little bit easier to look down the schedule when you're at that 500 mark, and kind of plan for things down that way. Um, but even if we don't, we got the game against the Pros the following week. Then we've got a couple of games against a few games against some Indiana teams. So we shall see how that falls. Let's jump over to our website. Take a look at the upcoming schedule for your Hoosier State Instigators. Obviously, we got the game against the Kings tomorrow. Let's jump over there here in a second. And again, if you haven't already seen that the new website, um, it is it's a great website. It is much fresher look and easier to navigate through, I think, for the Instigators basketball specifically compared to the Apex website that we had. Um, so we've got this. This is our ticket center. This is just the main screen here. You can get your tickets here. And don't forget, you get your Dubby Jitterless Energy 10% off for anybody that uses code Apex Athletics. I've got my Dubby here. I should probably minimize this just for a second, and then we'll jump back. But yeah, I got my Dubby here. It's great, when I work these 3 a.m. Work these shifts until 3 a.m., which I will be doing again tonight. So great to have jitterless energy from W. Again, use that code Apex Athletics for 10% off. But anyways, let's jump back to that the new website. Um, you got some of the news articles here. Shop. You can get your jerseys if you go over there. And shout out to Malcolm Martin, for helping design the website. And then obviously you got clips of our highlights there and Apex Patreon. Anyways, let's jump over to the schedule. So obviously we had the game against the Kings, game against the Pros. Then we're on the road here against the Kings, followed by the Pros. Um, so kind of a home and away series in a sense for both of these games or both of these teams. Then we go and same thing with the Shuckers, home and away series, but that will be in the same weekend. And then this will be the final game of 2025 as will be the game against the Legends. Then the second half of the season will be the 2026 portion. Got a game against the Monstars at home to start things off in January. Same thing with the Shuckers home and away series in that weekend. Um, then we've got a game against the Inferno on the road. Looks like both of those are technically on the road right now. But then we got a game here on the road against the Aces, which currently again number the 4 team in the country. St. Louis Spirit. We've got, believe that's a home game against the Spirit there. Again, South Bend Bison will have a home and away series. And then Inferno, I think we have a home and away series, but maybe it might be 2 games on the road. And then Capitals, we should be playing at home there. But that's our schedule coming up. I know I did do a teaser. I thought we were gonna have the announcement this past Sunday. Um, but it looks like we'll have to wait just a little bit longer to officially announce it. But we do have a unofficially announced, unofficially confirmed. But we have everything in line. We're just waiting on a couple of things to be 100% because we don't want to announce it publicly and then have to retrack. Because obviously we'd rather just not have to do that. It's way easier if everything's just all in line and then we can just say it, hey, like, everything's all in line and this is it. But until then, we're just gonna keep saying these teasers. And it'll come out sooner or later. And it's like 99% through. We just need that final 1%. One more thing to fall in line, and then we can announce it. But until that one more thing falls in line, we can't fully announce it. But we will or should have a celebrity announcement not too far in the future. Um, I think part of it is, we're pretty open on this podcast here. Part of it is, some of the fluidity within the ABA and possibly some schedule changing. Just have to hammer out some details on that before we go fully public with that announcement. But I know I did the teaser and I said it was coming last week on Sunday, so it is not. And just keep an eye out when it does come. We'll start blowing it up on the socials. but that is what I can share on that end for it. Again, we just want to get all our ducks in the row, have everything 100%, everyone signed off on everything before we go public with that announcement. But assuming that all falls through, that would be our very first time having a celebrity player for an Instigators game. So, uh, really looking forward to that. Again, I think everything will fall in line with that. I'm just waiting for everything to be 100% before we make that a public announcement. So that was the reason for the teaser last week. Again, once we get everything finalized, we will go public with that. And you definitely won't miss the announcements as far as that goes. And we will have some time in between it. It's not going to be hey, it's this week. At least I don't anticipate that. So be on the lookout for that. But until we can go with public with that, we've got the games on the road in the next couple of weeks. So we got the game against the Kings there this weekend tomorrow. Again, that's 5:30 tip. Um, and again, if you're in the Cincinnati region, we would love to have you out there. Cheer on the Instigators, trying to make our own home section there in Cincinnati. Um, and then we've got the game on the road against the Louisville Pros the following week. So if you can make it out to Louisville, obviously same applies there. Then we got the home and away series with the Shuckers. So we'll be back at home sooner than later in a few weeks. Actually, yeah, it's a few weeks. It's out in December. I think we may have a bye week in there. Feel like we've got a bye week in there at some point, whether that's 2 weeks from now or next week. But there is, I think it's maybe next week with the holiday, Thanksgiving. But anyways, that's what we got coming up here. Obviously, Instigators with their first win on the season. We're at 1-2, looking to get to 500 tomorrow against the number 11 Ohio Kings. But I think that's gonna do it for tonight's episode. Hopefully, next time we can have that celebrity player announcement. I'd love to talk about that, and then obviously I'd love to have the celebrity on this show here too at some point. Um, but again, you just get everything hammered out for that. But until then, catch us, on these podcasts. Catch the game tomorrow against the Ohio Kings. Um, and as always, until next time, be great and instigate. We'll see you again every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.